Hello and welcome to the latest cast in the 2022 Spy Party Winter Cup. My name is Warning Track. Pone Noob is going to be my casting confederate today, and Grosh is the man behind the curtain. We've got two great group stage matches for you. In just a bit, it's going to be Cotty versus June. But first, it's going to be Nessy up against the Winter Cup's defending champion OpiWrites. Noob, how's the weather over there? It's pretty chilly in keeping with the Winter Cup over here in Pennsylvania.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm really excited for these matches, particularly this Nessy OpiWrites first coming up. But we have seen a lot of generally good play as from what I've caught from the Winter Cup, and I'm excited to see this as we move towards bracket and move towards the finals potentially with someone like OpiWrites being a prime candidate for that sort of spot.
Yeah, prime candidate indeed. Obviously, as I mentioned, the defending champion and has either won place or shown, that's first, second, or third for you people who aren't really into horse racing, in the last 5 cups, summer and winter combined. So has always been a fixture near the end of these things and has started pretty strong in this one as well. Typically dominates the group stage matches and has been doing the same here. So this is going to be a real big test for Nessy to even probably keep pace, even if they play well, which, as you kind of mentioned, they have been. This is Nessy's, I think, their only second cup, the last one being the previous year's Winter Cup in 2021. And I'm looking at the numbers here, and decent sniper win rate, 63%, almost 64. Spy win rate several points higher, over 68. You see that sometimes with the newer players, but that is a really impressive spy win rate.
When we talk about Nessy, it's the amount of games they played when they first picked up the game. And every time that we have an example of that, be it Crazy Kaylee, Piers, or Opie Writes is a great example of that. They've always been very successful and competitive. The biggest concern with Nessie is they just haven't played much recently, but that's true for a lot of players. People are getting back into the competitive scene. And if Nessie can show the quality that they had in previous cups or just their casual play, they can be a real thorn in OP's side here.
I mean, it's a great point. There's no substitute for just playing the game a lot, and to that point, also playing it recently. We do have a quick draft here. It's not like an SCL draft. They don't have quite as much control over it. They have to pick sets, which they can augment slightly. You want to take us through this real quick?
Yeah, so Nessie has banned the 4 of 8 and 5 of 8 sets. I think it's a very good pick against Opie Wright, and Opie Wright has banned what is one of the wackier sets. It has Terrace, it has a high rise, and avoiding those 3 or 5s. So our map's going to be played with Gallery and Aquarium banned specifically out of the pools. We're going to have Ballroom, Redwoods, and Tayan coming from Nessie's side, and then Opie Wright is doing Terrace, High Rise, and Modern as their pick. So uh, I'm sorry, I've butchered that. Thought the first portion there was the bands, but those are going to be our maps. I'm surprised with OP picking the 3 of 7s. I think that's what threw me off entirely, actually.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, the simplistic analysis, although sometimes the simple analysis is the best, is that generally you don't want 3 mission variants and you don't want occlusion variants if you think of yourself as the on-paper favorite, and Opie certainly must think of himself that way. But, sometimes if you feel confident enough, maybe you think this is one of my rare opportunities to get a little competitive practice in as well in some of these venues.
yeah, the one thing that's not particularly surprising is the aquarium ban. OP Wrights has had both difficulty, but also a dislike of the shark, and I'm not surprised to see it be the ban out of his opponent's picks. So.
Yeah, Thassalophobia showing in our draft picks, of course. Let's get into this match here. It's going to be, I believe, Nessy and Opie first. Yeah? We're going to update that scoreboard in just a second. My man Grosh has got us. But we are going to start off on Tayen. It's going to be Opie as the spy playing Red Dress. This is an all book side shoji setup. Oh my. Let's just start it in. 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yep, Uprise is going to be playing Red Dress and immediately bugging. This is very typical for his gameplay, and he's going to get a highlight for it. Nessy is onto it. What a quick start.
For both players. And if you said, what's Opie likely to do in the beginning of a Tayan game, you'd say, yeah, he's going to look around for a bug. But the thing is, Nessy clearly knew it. Nessy was zoomed in, focused on the Ambassador, left other things vulnerable, knowing Opie's tendencies. And I got to be honest, I'm not sure that was a particularly subtle one either, because we walked right up to the Ambassador, bumped off them, and walked away right afterwards. And if that highlight is anything more than, oh, maybe could have bugged, then Opie is already in a little bit of trouble.
A lot of things have now become prohibitive, like going to middle statues. Okay, the lights are moving towards statues, but if Nessy remembers this as the game goes on, I think there's certain things that we simply cannot be doing. We also cannot do a white purloin, for example, and definitely not here as we get offered. Oh, we're not even being offered. Toby is ignoring us entirely. Interesting.
I mean, we're used to making fun of Damon as being incompetent, but Toby, generally thought of as pretty on the ball. Odd of him to miss a guest.
Okay, our flirt is up. We're down to 85% already, which is a good place to be. Only one flirt needed from any distance will do it.
Yeah, the minimum is 17, so if it takes it all, it's going through. And no surprise, Opie is moving quick. But again, when you have that reputation, when you do move quick a lot, people find out. There are a lot of replays available. There's a lot of casts available. And there's people like
Banana
us
bread.
saying it over and over again. That's a banana split. It's a green and a leave right into windows here. I don't know if we're fishing for a low light or not. We're just trying to throw the sniper off. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Wow, suspect the bug, and then a BB split, and that's enough.
Yeah, the fourth mission, I'm not sure what it could possibly be. Just doesn't even want to see it. And I think OP's thought process there was, if I'm going to do this banana bread, I don't want to be considered doing a banana bread into a bug, because I've already done the bug. But from Nessy's process, the banana split is even more suspicious because they already have OP as the top of their list.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons you mentioned switching to statue highlights away from that kind of bug suspicion highlight early on. And the question is, are they just going to forget it, or is it looming large in their mind after that switch because of that switch? And I think we have our answer. They were itching for any excuse to shoot. Mission counts be damned. And they shot, and they were right. Big statement shot early from Nessy. Now it's going to be Nessy on the spy on Tayan with a slightly more favorable Shoji setup, playing as Teal in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Please don't argue with me. I know you want to. I can feel it.
I haven't played the Spy Party cast in quite a while, so I haven't had the chance to argue. We are in a useless conversation, and it's a front conversation too. Quite unfortunate for Nessy, but it's how the dice settled.
Yeah, RNG still part of the game, just a little bit. You can force the action, as Opie will tell you and show you, and just did show us, but that also doesn't always work, as Nessy just showed us. There are a lot of highlights coming out early for just, I think, maybe just general activity, trying to flirt pair even. I don't know, that doesn't seem like Opie. Not really clear what this is all about yet. It could just be pathing, could be anyone coming even sort of close to the Ambassador, because as we've established, Bug on Tayen, really, really hard to guard against properly.
I think one thing that will also show is Nessy's spy rate in the previous tournament was incredibly high, but I do believe they're pretty straightforward with how they play. I think they do generally want to be getting that flirt first. And OpiWrites has done some behavioral play
Banana bread.
on the more awkward of maps, be it Tayan, maybe Aquarium. We're getting the highlight here for talking during the banana bread, and it's going to help out OpiWrites tremendously given that Nessy has no mission completion.
Wow. Yeah, certainly. However, perfect contact in the sense that there was nobody outside of conversation other than the Ambassador, so we don't get any lowlights for it. And wow, we're going to go for a fingerprint briefcase right afterwards. I think that talking highlight, it can't be too big of a deal unless your opponent is basically going to bank on it. And I think you might actually even take that, given that you didn't give up any lowlights for it. But that fingerprint was definitely seen, and Opie's definitely going to notice it. Fingerprint, a popular choice here, where center statue seems like death. We are talking as we're being offered a drink. That was hanging on maybe just a little too long. I think the upper bound of that is around 6 seconds, as you once established, and we were getting close to it there.
Yeah, generally Toby will walk away after like say 12 seconds, but the AI are much more politer than that. They will address Toby within 6 seconds, more or less. We have 25% flirt and only 90 seconds on the clock. We're in a spot here, and I'm not sure we have great winning chances. A bug here would help, but we could not find the wrong arm.
Uh-oh, we are flirting before we're sipping. You can flirt and sip at the same time, for those who don't know. Might have been a little action priority issue. The flirt does come off at this 70%, but that is a big, big noticeable delay, and it feels like we're already one of the suspects here. We're going to hang on to this book just long enough to say, well, we actually came here for the book and not the general. Green book, not the green man. Don't worry about it. We weren't flirting. Book's going to go back in right about now, and we do have a lot of ways to finish with that fingerprint. The question is, can we get that second fingerprint without taking a bullet along with it?
Yeah, the blue bookcase does have a fingerprint. The awkward thing with going to the green bookcase, which we did for the flirt, is when we go to the blue bookcase, we're probably also going to be watched for microfilm, among other things, simply because we've just been to one bookcase already. Maybe that could help Nessy at the end of the day, but he only has 30 seconds to really figure out what the plan is.
Yeah, great point. Seen at both bookshelves. Although, if Opie is confident that no microfilm took place, it could lose you heat instead of gain it. It could go either way. But when you're up against a top sniper, that kind of thing can work in your favor, counterintuitively almost. But you're right. 20 seconds left. We only have 2 missions done. The ambassador's probably going to walk by us again. This might be our last chance. I don't know if we're going to get away with it. They do not. Twice in a row, they walk by us without coming into a buggable position. There's 10 seconds left, and I don't see any way we can finish now. And it doesn't look like Nessy's even going to try to. It can only be a timeout, and I don't see how this is going to work. We just waited way too long. It is a green test at least, but this is going to be very noticeable. 2 seconds left on the clock, and as far as I can tell, no one else was at windows. Opie might be able to shoot just for this.
Yeah, on Taean, generally, like if you're playing against someone like Smallman, who I don't even see on the venue, you might shoot in this spot. Opie can be a bit more patient. I don't believe Nessy's going to get away with a dance. This is a green purloin, and it is potentially our only chance of winning. There hasn't been many lowlights from the timeout, too.
No, not that many. Opie playing it very careful, but I think he's got his suspect list down, and I think he's probably tracking this purloin too. There's another potential reject from Twin at bookcases, and they do get brought up. Here is a fingerprint on the briefcase. This could get us to mission win pending, and it does. I don't know if it'll result in a win, but it does get us into a win kind of conditioned state. We're going to go back to this conversation right afterwards, and Opie is going to wait for the beeping, though, and the list has not been taken yet. We're still waiting for it. A low light's going to take it right now. Is Opie on this? Yes, he is.
Yeah, there was an opportunity for like a clever play. We could have gone to one of the side statues and just kind of threatened the swap, for example, or threaten the ambassador and hopefully try and pull away from the purloin. But OP was all over that. I think because 2 briefcases is a pretty obvious way of going about getting your fingerprints.
Yeah, certainly. Not trying to cheese either one of them, not occluded behind a conversation. Not bad, though, overall. I will say that it's kind of funny. We don't give up any lowlights on that contact, which is very good, but the timeout at the end gives Opie kind of the same number of lowlights he might have gotten anyway, if not more. So in the endgame state, he had a similar number of people to watch, and surprise, surprise, it's all tied up at 1. OpiWrites is going to be on the spy now, playing as Kane on Modern in 3, 2, 1, Planet.
I did think here, while we pulled up Modern, a reason why OP might have chosen the draft strategy they did. Modern is pretty friendly with the 4 of 8 for the spy. Relative, it's going to be closer to 50-50 than some venues. And OpiWrites really could predict here that this might end up being 10, 11, even 12 sniper games if you just played a bunch of more regular maps. We will also see High Rise and Terrace in the future, and those will give winning chances to the spy.
Yeah, certainly. I think Modern, a decent fit for Opie Spy at this point. You know, he's very aggressive and he doesn't want to change that up too much. And so picking venues where you can hide in a crowd, so to speak, can certainly help. And there have been a couple counterintuitive examples. He's had trouble on Library of Spy over the years, but some of the other ones like Veranda and Modern have suited him a little bit better, and obviously he likes his chances on Sniper there. We do have the early flirt in, and we're going to try to timer flirt for the second one, even though the first one wasn't green. Usually if the first one's not green, you go off and do something else, especially as an aggressive spy. But in this case, we're going to take our time anyway. Nothing else was presenting itself. The second one is green, so we end up at 85% regardless.
Yeah. Every time we've ever spectated a spy party game, 85% is the most common, just because white and green is most common, but I also feel there's a bit of pressure, right? When you get the first green, it's so much harder to get the second green because you go, well, this would be a real boon for me, and then you get nervous.
Yeah, OP has one of the highest AT rates among competitive players, and that's saying something because competitive players have gotten better and better at action tests over the years, and now the top players are routinely hitting over 60% when that used to be good enough for number 1. The good old days, I call them, back when that's all I had to do. OpiWrites goes and idles in a conversation for a little bit and then takes a very long path, bumping off of Teal and ending in a statue pad right here. It's going to be the far left statues, and we are going to pick up a rote statue highlight for it, and we are going to miss a difficult fingerprint, and that's what we were really after there more than the inspects.
Yeah, difficult fingerprints are huge boons, and the highlight might still include the fingerprint as part of the knowledge, but I don't believe Teal, as you called her, Mom as I call her, did get the highlight for her statue visit, so quite interesting. Bug scene, and there we go. Nessy on it. It was a wrong arm as far as I could tell with a cane, too. Very impressive bug and a very impressive shot.
It's a good bug, but it's just very obvious from these first two shots that Nessy is focusing inordinately on that ambassador, and so far has been absolutely correct to do it. Because yes, a so-so bug on Tayan, and I would say a good bug on Modern, and Nessy seems very confident about both. It's all sniper so far, but we're only in the fourth game. Nessy going to take a crack now at finally scoring a spy win, playing as Red Dress on Modern in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Don't necessarily like their chances here. Opie is looking at the top of his game, but Nessy absolutely has the potential to match them, and that's how you tend to beat a big tournament favorite like this, is you really just play lockdown sniper and hope something gets through on the spy side eventually.
And we start off at cases. I think we're already too late to do a direct transfer in a cheesy fashion. But this is a spot where you can get away with the animation microfilm sometimes. The white test will not help, but we're not dead. It looks like we got away with it. We did eat a highlight. Eesh.
Wow, I'm actually very impressed by that highlight because that was a very occluded microfilm. Techs and General were helping block it, and they blocked it pretty well, and Opie was not zoomed in on it, but I think he just suspects it just enough, and if that highlight means anything at all, that's really impressive. And there's Nessy with a quick talk and leave after a 51% on the flirt, possibly going over for this briefcase. No, we're not going to, and we might have been obligated to, by the way, and I think given that this happened right after that highlight, and there's a green contact as well, I think Opie is noticing all of these little suspicious ticks.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with microfilm just as a mission is we have to go back and do it again, and even the green test microfilm won't likely save us. It's always a tough spot when the spy has to refuse to do the microfilm again, because they just simply won't have that knowledge. This is not a bookcase where we can get that microfilm either. This is the green bookcase again, maybe trying to reduce suspicion, but I don't think it's going to do too much, especially against someone who's not particularly behavioral like OpiWrites.
Yeah, might have felt that highlight. It's not really clear, and finishing that microfilm is going to be particularly tough because not only are we glowing now, not only are we potentially suspicious, but that green shelf generally considered to be the easiest one because of that conversation occlusion. You're not going to get it on blue. You're definitely not going to get it on red. Those are going to be very hard to get away with. We are idling out front now. This is a decent spot for a timeout. It's early enough in the game, too, that no one would be expecting it, and, well, doesn't matter. Opie's not going to go for it. There is a little party activity building up, but not a ton. Nessy has scored 4 lowlights so far to go with just 3 highlights, and one of them is the spy, and another one of them is the ambassador. So not a whole lot vying for their attention other than the Nessy right now.
Yeah, I would have liked that timeout there. Getting the timeout in before the clock goes from green to yellow is generally a good idea. So doing it right around 2:20 is kind of optimal if you're looking to do a timeout, and nobody really goes, this is a timeout time. We do finish our flirt. We do actually get the 2 greens, which is novel. We don't see that, and we definitely haven't seen that this match. But we still have 2 missions to go, and we know things like microfilm or bug are likely to get us shot.
Yeah,
At least as
certainly.
passers.
I mean, we know it. It's more obvious to us. We've got the bird's eye view, and we're pretty relaxed. This is one way you could get away with red, is if someone like Duke stays there and blocks you. Unfortunately, Duke wants nothing to do with it. He's done with that book and walking away, and we have no cover now. We are positively radioactive. The dress is red, the bookshelf is red, and the sniper might as well be a bull having those colors waved at them. That test, though, is white, and it doesn't matter. Opie was absolutely waiting for it. It's over, just like that, and it felt like it was over in the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, one option that you do sometimes see on Modern is to take the book all the way to the far right. I know it's a very popular option for people at least once before they realize that also never works and also wastes an extra minute, and we just didn't have the time. Nessie really had to do the mission, and that's really the problem with the early microfilm, especially when you ate the highlight, is you just don't really have that much recourse.
Yeah, and so Nessy, I would say, with a bit of a statement shot in that first game, shot well before we could be in mission win countdown, and Opie maybe with a little bit of their own there, saying you really didn't have to do that much. I was all over you early on, and snipers outpacing spies quite a bit so far, but it is all still knotted up. No one outpacing anyone in the scoreline yet. Opie writes now on their favorite venue, quite famously, and one of their favorite characters, Green Dress, on Ballroom in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I think this is our first opportunity, if not a spy win, at least see a spy game that feels like the spy could win. Because so far, the 4 games that we've watched have all been very sniper dominant.
Yeah, not just sniper wins, right, but sniper dominant. The spies never felt especially close to winning. And that is a significant distinction, too. Because eventually something's going to break through if you're coming close over and over and over again. OpiWrites starts off at green shelves, does not really do anything with it, does have a briefcase cancel, and does already have a green flirt to their name. So this is a standard kind of OpiWrites start, which is to say we're about 30 seconds into the game and the flirt's half done already. No bug, though.
I do like wheels here going to middle statues, gives OpiWrites some cover, just because someone else is being more suspicious than anything we could possibly do. A bit of an awkward path there. I think we're trying to set up for the ambassador if the ambassador comes this way, but let's see what they're up to. Yeah, we're really trying to get a double walking bug, but we're just slightly too slow. Cowboy is pretty slow as a character, but not the slowest. That may have worked if we had Pearl's ambassador, for example, but she's not as chunky.
There we go. We're up next to our seduction target now. We have a chance to 2-flirt, and we could use it now with only 2 minutes left. And there it is, 85% again, that dreaded, dreaded number. And, you know, if you're OpiWrites, you know that your opponent knows that you like to bug, but it might not be obvious unless they're studying the replays pretty closely how much it's being watched. There's a contact, by the way. We're going to get a low light at the end of a talk, I think, from Teal there, our seduction target, realizing they could not have actually BB'd there unless they were greening during their own talk, and what spy would bother to do that on Ballroom? The flirt cooldown has expired, so we can finish that one ever. I think the real question is, if you're OpiWrites, at what point do you notice that they are selling out on bug? And at what point do you zig rather than zag? Well, maybe right now it's a green purloin, and there's a bit of a pillar in the way, too. The party is not particularly busy, but it's possible we might have gotten away with this. Let's see if we get a chain going.
OpiWrites is nodding on the spy side, like he thinks Wheels taking it is a good idea, but Wheels was out for the BB. This is actually just a chain with us if Nessy notices it, and he's zooming for it, too.
He's zooming for it, and he's got to have this narrowed down. Did he notice here before General took it, though? Because General is not low lit. That's a big, big question. Is General part of this list of suspects? But you're right, we're the only one in the chain. It's not even a chain, it's just one link.
Okay, we have 3 missions done. Someone like Smallman, who just went to middle statues, might be the shot here just because there's been so much pressure with a really good banana bread and a purloin that doesn't feel to have given that much information to Nessy just based on what they were tracking.
Ponytails at center statues, and if you see a purloin and you're not sure who did it, and you see someone finishing with less than a minute left at center statues on Ballroom, boy, that is a tough thing to do. Yup, and that's all it is. That shows a lack of confidence about the purloin. If they had that narrowed down at all, they can hold that shot, but that tells me that they are not at all confident about when that purloin took place. They were really worried about when it might have happened, and they're up against a spy who likes to finish missions, and that scores you a civ shot sometimes.
Yeah, with my commentary, I was saying that Wheels as a low light because he was out for the banana bread was a bad thing. But I think it actually was the reason that OpiWrites won this game so handedly, is because Wheels was a low light, Nessy missed the initial take of the purloin and didn't really have an understanding of what the chain was.
That's a great point. Sometimes when a low light does something for you, obviously they can't be blamed for it, but that means also sometimes it doesn't even register that it happened. It's something we see with purloin delegates a lot too. Sometimes you contact as they approach to take the list for you, you knock them out, but you also cause the sniper to forget about the list entirely. Might have been the case here. Either way, it is a civ shot and a spy win for Opie, and that is pretty big given how good their sniper has looked. But it's far from over. Nessy now playing as the person they just shot, Ponytail. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, I always love when people play the same character. I was going to say something, but I think we need to address this first. Green Purloin right at the beginning of the game. And that was 6 seconds into the game. Not the quickest that you'll see. We've definitely seen faster, but really trying to force it, and I think did a good job. It was taken by an SDA too, so it's
I don't think he's seen this yet.
Green Purloin.
Now he sees it. Oh boy, zoomed in, and I think we're a little worried. Oh, he's not sure what to do. He's highlighting kind of random people. He's highlighting the person who took after he noticed it, just in case it was a weird spy maneuver to take again after a green or something. And oh boy, we have not low-lit the spy, and that is significant. This is pretty good memory from Opie. This is a good recovery, but those highlights potentially very bad because the spy is not among them.
Yeah, we didn't get away with the holding a book low light, which other characters who were at statues or books did get that low light. Nessy could have gone away with true murder there, and now we're middle statues. Now we are going to be top suspect just because of mission progress, with 2 missions very visibly done, with the list gone, and then now middle statues.
Oh boy. Yeah, if we get a real contact here, it's going to be a little hard for Opie not to shoot. Based on kind of the same logic, I'm not confident about this purloin, so I have to take the shot if someone could be done otherwise. I think Obviously did not get away with it completely here, but I think we got away with it fairly well under the circumstances. Honestly, it kind of feels like a wash at this point, given the lowlights.
And just a complete side note here, Nessy's pathing is just really lovely. He's got these angles that look very AI-like, if not just are AI-like. So, really good stuff. Just really getting the minutia of the game down, which won't necessarily matter against OpiWrites, but it's a lovely skill to have.
It's certainly nice, and it'll serve them well as they continue to advance in these tournaments, become more experienced. They have a green flirt in the meantime, 51%, and the cooldown timer is coming very, very quickly. There's 90 seconds left on the clock, and if we can hit this second flirt, things get very, very interesting, because then a good contact forces Opie into potentially a very tough shot. We can't quite tell from their laser how suspicious they are, but it does not exactly feel, certainly like they were the top suspect post-Purloin. If they are now, it's purely because of that statue visit.
Yeah, the ambassador is being watched, and Teal at the left back statue is also being watched for swap. We are doing the most passive thing that we could possibly do at the party, taking a drink post-Purloin.
Are we going to
I
go
don't
for a
believe this
fingerprint
has a
here?
fingerprint. The briefcase definitely will, but
Uh-oh, Opie's laser stops and twitches over Nessy, maybe worried they've missed one print, but if they're confident they have it, they're going to let this go. But will they shoot for a talk right afterwards? No! Oh, is this a miss? Were they trying to shoot buns? I guess they were.
yeah, I don't think there was a particular reason to rush unless they were truly shooting, but we'll check the instant replay here.
I mean, there's a little of occlusion there. Maybe you're worried about a dance, but that is
That's
well
definitely
after.
that's definitely a shot on buns. Almost
Yeah.
hit Toby actually.
I feels like that little laser twitch at the end, it almost looks like a shaking your head no. No, I don't think Nessy would get one fingerprint with 1 minute left at this point if this was them. And just this could be Buns finishing up. I'm not sure why, though. Must have suspected her for a bug because no one else had inspects at that point. And what do you know? Purloin's on ballroom. It ends up being a wash in both cases. The sniper is not confident about who did it and eventually shoots a Civ instead. And we are still tied.
The early Purloin's a lovely play, and just having the heads up to see that Toby was behind them more or less won them the game, though 2 minutes later. Now we see OpiWrites has hit the big red small win button. It's not the best small win map in the world, 3 of 5 high rise, but let's get it started on your
Yeah,
account.
in 3, 2, 1, playing it. It's in case of emergency, break open glass, and Smallman's inside.
Precisely. We want to be near the ambassador for no reason that we might sneak a fingerprint if the ambassador is kind. They are not, and we'll probably head over towards... Actually, where is our seduction target? They were behind us, apparently.
Yeah, they were. And by the way, look at these highlights. I'm almost certain that those are potential flirt pairing highlights coming out of Nessy.
Yeah, we saw weird highlights from OpiWrites on Tayan, which appeared to be flirt lights or similar potential aggressive early plays. Now we see it from Nessy. Both players just mixing up their play a little bit with these harder maps, these more spy bias maps with 3-5 high riser, just the mess that is Tayan.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple ways to look at it. Certainly, you could say Tan, right, messy. You might as well change up your light strategy. You could say on high rise, a Softail variant like this, you need to think about it. Or you could say that you do it at the beginning of the game, and the moment you get a statue visitor or bar visitors or something else, until you need those highlights, why not use them this way? Whatever it is, very interesting, and we have not chosen to change it yet. Let's see if that changes here with Taft at statues. It has not, and there's been no mission progress yet, by the way. This is the old, pick the most suspicious character and conspicuously do nothing kind of move, and then maybe you frame someone else because you've been too busy watching Smallman to see what this other person might have been doing.
With the 51%, it feels like we do still have the chance to finish missions, but we have been very passive. One thing that is concerning to me is, well, the SDA is in conversation, so this will still frame ourselves, is one thing that's concerning to me, but the other thing is just the quality of Smallman's bug when you're not doing specifically I am a small man bugs is actually really poor, and OpiWrites has been trying to do bugs in his games that he's lost, and there aren't many options to avoid doing bug on 3 or 5 high rise.
I think that was a perfect contact, however, even though
It was.
HJ might have sprayed us. I mean, there was nobody out, and the conversations were roughly split in two. Not bad at all. However, we do get a low light on one of the twins instead afterwards, and we have a Purloin as well, and before it even comes off, it's a Civ shot onto General. I don't know what we could have suspected there.
Shot must have been for second flirt, which is already aggressive in itself. But with General, I mean, the high suspicion is always going to be a bug. General does have very good bugs, and based on where he's standing, it does feel like he probably had to walk by the ambassador at some point in this game too to just get to the location he's in.
Yeah, I'm reviewing the footage here, and I'm not seeing much. Boy, General had been standing there. Let me see. There was a walk by the ambassador at around 2:45, but the arm is very visible, and you can see they're not bugging. This is where the aggression, where watching that ambassador and suspecting every path could be a bug path, maybe comes back to bite you because the general had stood there for a minute solid without moving. And if they'd waited just a few more seconds, they would have seen that purloin going off, and it would have been a completely different story. And out of nowhere, just like that, 3 sniper wins to start. Now, several spy wins in a row instead. And what do you know? Once again, the Civ shot becomes the spy, Nessy, taking the exact same page from that book, playing as general on high rise in 3, 2, 1, playing it. It's the exact same mission setup. We didn't mention it last time because it is as close to standard as you're going to get on high rise 3.5 these days. Has an
Did you
immediate
see
bug
that
from
bug?
Nessy.
Because it
Yeah.
feels like OpiWrites did, but I'm not sure everybody did, because that was a fantastic bug, and it was the true power of General's bug. If he doesn't have the best bug, it is near the top of the list.
Yeah, those walking bugs in particular. And yeah, my eyes were up in the top left talking about missions. Meanwhile, in the bottom right, an actual mission was taking place, and now it is already done. Nessy doing their best Opie impersonation in several different ways in this match.
Yeah, this is actually a really nice thing. We're already trying to avoid standing next to anybody, just so we don't get flare paired, because we are in such a precarious spot. But additionally, we had joined a conversation unknowingly with the suspected double agent, so about as passive as it could be here from Nessy. This will set up for a double agent in the future, but there's so many people out of the conversation right now, we're not going to be saying banana bread just yet.
Yeah, certainly not. And Nessy, I think, is going to behave as if they mostly got away with this. But here's the question. Do you need to? Are you really going to get away with a bug against someone watching it that closely? Or are you just going to make them doubt that it happened? Maybe get 2 or 3 more people to take a similar path, and the sniper doesn't want to have to pick. But if you're the only one with that potential bug highlight, that's going to look mighty suspicious when you pick up that real contact.
And with the double agent leaving our conversation, I think the flirt here makes sense. We are doing it prior to picking up or putting back or reading the book. Uh, where did we? I don't remember getting this book. It must have been when we were getting the bug.
It was right after the bug. We bugged on our way to the bookshelf. We took the book. The book said how to bug, and you said, I don't need to read this. It's already done.
Yeah, microfilm is off. The book was just because we were here. Nessy has been doing a lot of things that are considered fairly AI-like. I'm surprised nobody else has picked this up, which makes me feel like it might have already been in the ambassador's range.
I think you're right. I think it just was. We do return it anyway. Opie, interestingly enough, does watch it very closely, so if we are suspected of the bug, we're certainly not sure it happened because we were worried about it happening again.
Yeah, and with fingerprint off, there's no other reason to be suspicious of a return briefcase.
Yeah, that is the mission setup I was talking about earlier. Fingerprint increasingly turned off in lieu of purloin instead. Just another thing you can rush at the end of the game if AIs don't complete, along with bugs, so you're not totally behind the 8 ball. If you get a contact in at any point, it makes it easy to potentially finish all your missions in the last 30 or 40 seconds if all else fails, as it often does on high rise. It can be quite treacherous. There's 1 minute left. We still need 2/3 of our seduce, and we're sipping away at this drink
Oh
like we don't have a care
no.
in the world.
We definitely do have a finish here if we go to middle statues and get the flirt. But the seduction target going back to their same statue they were just at doesn't give them more statue progress, isn't going to make them more likely to be shot, and does put us in a spot where we are really required to go here. We need green test too. This is not free.
Uh-oh. Not free at all. Big moment coming up. Here it is. There's a white. Are we going to get this just in time? We are. And Opie's shaking his camera. He doesn't like this at all. He might take the shot, but he doesn't want to. He zooms in. Safety off. 10 seconds, I think, have just about passed. And it looks like that's the choice. The choice is no. But here's the contact as soon as they enter, and they're talking, and that is all Opie needs. He barely held a shot on the inspects, but cannot hold it for the finish there.
I do love the banana bread. I do feel like it was a flub, but if we green banana breaded as our mission instead of flirting, it would have been very confusing. Uh, just coming in a bit too close to Sam in danger. I think we die just for talking in general, but I'm not sure why we particularly went so close to our seduction target with only needing the 15%. Just a couple of interesting choices, but really predicated just by the fact that the seduction target decided to go back to statues when we were very much stalling at the windows. Just a bit of bad luck there, but it's your fault for running out of time.
Yeah, certainly. We mentioned earlier that the spies weren't even coming close to winning. Well, that's definitely changed now. Not only do we have several spy wins, but that was a spy loss that was definitely close to being a spy win. Opie holding their shot, but one more action seals it for them. But they're only up 5-3. They're not out of the woods yet. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite. We're heading into the woods. It's Redwoods. OpiWrites playing as Leopard in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, we've only seen one repeated character, and it wasn't between the characters, or two. We've seen Alice and we've seen Red Dress. It's been a lot of ladies and then also Smallman, which is very typical. It's a green time at the start, and it's on Redwoods. Good luck catching this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a high percentage play. And that's against anyone, let alone two players that are obviously making a point of bugging and watching the bug. And on Redwoods, that is all the harder to do. So I think, yeah, you're probably right. This is probably free.
Was expecting the double walking bug attempt, and we got it. OpiWrites taking it super late,
Nessy's
and
watching. Oh.
we haven't taken the highlight just yet, but we have also seen Nessy hold highlights for other things too. It doesn't mean that Opie's gone away with it.
Yeah, that zoom, that lingering over the spies feels very significant. And it's entirely possible that while they're willing to give a highlight for a bug suspicion on a different venue, on this one they might really, really need them to track other things. So very plausible that we are suspect numero uno right now.
Yeah, I'm just amazed with how late Opie went on that bug. Just barely catching up with the ambassador. And I'm not sure if it was purposeful, which made it a very fantastic bug, or if they just recovered a late leave. Either way, we have 2.5 missions done. We have 3.5 missions done. That is
right
a direct
away.
Purloin. And we can
we're trying
end
to
this, by the way.
Are we trying to frame the seduction target? I think that's who we were next to before, trying to frame Twin. We talk, we seduce. I don't think the Purloin has even been seen yet, because who does it at this point? We time add, and then we rush anyway, and it works.
Woo! That's OpiWrites. While still, the clock is still slow, by the way.
Hadn't even caught up yet.
Fantastic stuff. The direct purloin there really covers a lot of bases. It makes it so you want to figure out and like take a bit more time. It also just ends the game if they don't notice it. No matter what happens here, as long as they're not shooting you because they have no clue, this is always going to work out. But really, it's the power of the bug and just the power of two flirts to be able to finish off the rush before Nessy has a chance to really even start the puzzle. He hasn't even done the corner pieces yet. He hasn't finished the edges of this jigsaw puzzle.
Yep, and before you know it, the puzzle has shot you? No, I'm not sure how to spin that
Yeah,
analogy.
the,
I've
the,
got
the
nothing.
puzzle is taking your guest list, I
The
believe.
puzzle is taking your guest list. It's anthropomorphic. Yeah, it's a great spy win from Opie, who is really starting to pull away here. The clock hadn't even caught its breath, and now Nessy back against the wall, playing as one of the twins. I can't see which one. Is that Bling? It is Bling.
It is
yes.
Bling.
Bling on Redwoods in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Opie has already secured at least a draw. Now trying to run up the score a little bit, get the win outright first.
These two players have the same thoughts about how to play these maps. We've been seeing a lot more purloins now that they've realized that, yeah, bugging is still not good. And they've both started with a time ad to start our Redwoods games, which I think is a very reasonable play. There's almost no chance that you're not near a window, and there's almost no chance that the sniper isn't panicking about trying to memorize the statues and protect the ambassador's booty.
Yeah, there is an old, possibly apocryphal tale about someone who fooled a bunch of chess grandmasters by playing them all at once, and the way they did it was they would play their moves off each other, going from table to table, so they were actually playing each other and not the person fooling them. I kind of wonder if that's what's happening here. One spy does one thing, they have similar play styles, they're both aggressive, and they say, okay, yeah, I'll try that. You just shot that person, I'll be that person. You time added, I'll time add.
Yeah, I mean, Nessy's losing, so I'm not sure it's necessarily working out for them, but we are going to go here to mill statues. This will also result in our inspect, and we keep on doing the thing prior to picking up the books. Now it's really hurt us with the red test inspect, too.
Yeah, it's a little tiny mechanical thing that you want to get comfortable with. You want to get comfortable with the scroll wheel. You want to make it your friend or keys or whatever you like, but you need to be confident that you can do it quickly and easily, and those little seconds here and there, they can really add up, and at this point we don't have any margin left anyway. We bring the green book with us, so there's a decent chance this is going to go into a different shelf, because that's pretty viable on Redwoods. The flirt's only a third done. Microfilm might be half done, depending on how you look at it, though the second half is always a heck of a lot harder, especially when it's this type. But the inspects are partially done too, and the clocks are just about to sync up.
Yeah, Nessy did get laser touched while at the bookcase. There's no highlight for it, but I struggle to believe Nessy thinks they can get away with going and doing an inspect and return into the red bookcase for the double dip, and might need to if they start running low on time. Our seduction target has not been friendly so far.
Well, there is one big wild card when you're playing someone like Opie, and that is if the ambassador is vulnerable enough, you might be able to do anything.
Exactly. This banana bread looks good in this conversation, but we look around, there's not much to it. Our seduction target is about as far away as possible. This has become a bit of a time crunch here with only 2 half missions, 2 quarter missions.
Well, if you can get the inspects and the book back at once, like you were saying, if you take that big risk and it pays off, suddenly you're in great shape. But that is a big risk. That is a big filter to come out of the other side. There's a bug attempt as the ambassador walks around us, and Opie is having none of that. I think that was maybe a little impulsive and probably not what we planned, but the ambassador walks by. They're too tantalizing, and that is exactly what Opie wants you to do there.
Yeah, we're a bit low on options because we have the book in hand. We're walking away from the sniper. It feels a bit telegraphed, and we didn't even land the bug, unfortunately. We've been shot for a crime that we didn't do. We only attempted, but attempted manslaughter is still
I was going to say, you could still be
still a
arrested for
crime.
the attempt, and apparently you can be executed as well. Capital punishment for the mere attempt. My God, Spy Party is a brutal, brutal criminal justice system, to say the least. These games are just for tiebreakers now, and they don't figure to matter in Opie's case, but you never know with Nessy, so we're going to keep them going. There's 2 more here on Terrace. Opie writes is the spy first in 3, 2, 1. All right. We're going to hold on for just a second here, but it is going to be Terrace. These are going to be just for tiebreaker purposes, as I mentioned. They do play out the entire set because the number of wins in each total set is basically how you determine potential ties. And when you only have a few group stage matches, those actually have come into play in a few different cups.
Precisely. One thing I also want to mention here before we get started is just the nature. We're now on of this map. We're on 3 of 7 terrace. Just things have become more and more spy biased. The better and better our snipers get. I'll kind of send here. It's gonna be OpiWrites as twin. We'll figure out which twin in a moment in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. This started off as 3-5, right? And it has gradually become 3-7, and that seems to work fine, or at least as good as it's going to work. Opie Wrights takes a bug path around the ambassador without bugging.
I mean, you have so much trust in your opponent to take that path.
Yep.
Against a lesser opponent, you might just eat a highlight for an assumed wrong arm or something. But no, Opioids just making a show of it, and maybe doing so because it is already now his victory in hand.
If we're talking about getting caught for crimes and things like that, that's the equivalent of, oh boy, that's the equivalent of driving exactly at the speed limit in front of a cop. But it doesn't work here. It's the same result. Another spy put to death, this time for some briefcase shenanigans.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily shenanigans. I think Opie just thought that the briefcase would be returned, but because we're in a conversation, it got a bit weird, and simply the ambassador did not want their briefcase back, and Nessy did not want the ambassador to have to deal with such a struggle.
Yeah, there we go. Well, the game doesn't matter that much. You might as well try something. Opie did indeed. Again, these might matter for tiebreakers for Nessy, but probably not for Opie, who's been romping in the group stages as usual. Final game coming up. Nessy as Orange Sorry in 3, 2, 1. Playing it.
Yeah, with the quality of play, I don't think Nessy's in a huge stress to get out of group, but they did end up with a fairly interesting group, as I recall. That's a
Oh, is that a wrong
really
arm?
good bug.
That is
Uh,
fantastic. I was looking on the sniper side, and let me tell you, it is tough to see.
yeah, I mentioned General's bug is one of the best. I think Orange Saris has to be considered perhaps better, in part because just the slowness of the character makes them so easy to execute well. Now we have a bug in pocket. We do have the highlight, but with these really full conversations, a banana bread here is really threatening.
Yeah, very. But that was
Banana bread.
exceptional. And it wasn't even that it was Orange Sorry so much. It was just a very good wrong arm bug, just perfectly timed. Yeah, Opie's not going to take any chances here with that contact just in case. Obviously, we can't be done with Flirt yet, but they don't care. I think the real question is how much are they willing to take that shot if this game still mattered for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna come down to like flirt counting and stuff, and you could even do something super cheeky like flirt and then green BB during the flirt. Like you don't want to get into these sort of spots, and Opie Wright just doesn't have the patience for it. In the same sense that they didn't have the patience for it in the last game when they missed the briefcase. So it ends up being 7-5. The result, or sorry, 8-4.
8-4.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Didn't
not
Opie Wright
bad.
lose the last 2 games? Okay.
There we
Uh,
go.
I believe you. 8-4 Obi writes. Good result there from both players. To be honest, I think Nessy, if you told him, "Hey, you're gonna get 8-4 after the end of this game," he would have went, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
It sounds about
And
right, and I would say they could have won a couple more in there too. A draw was very plausible, but OpiWrites very much on their game. What I really want to know is what happens if we eschew the bug a little bit more. At a certain point, no matter how good bug is, if the sniper is selling out on it and they're pretty good at catching it, you got to do something else. And remember, their one spy win was when they did something else. The Purloin worked in